Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast. Welcome to the future. We're now in 2024. It feels completely different to 2023 in most ways. Fintan, how has the future been for you so far?
It's been 2024 is going to be a little bit different to 2023 for me.
How so?
My big news, well, not even big news, but my big change is I'm currently on a sabbatical, as I'm calling it. So I'm taking a little bit of time off, recharge the batteries, get some personal stuff taken care of, and
Is that your warts?
Yeah, keep going back.
Yeah, seriously, I feel for you.
Yeah, and so I was a little bit tired last year. Had a lot on, and I think the word burnt out gets thrown around quite a lot, and I definitely wasn't burnt out, but I was definitely crispy around the edges. Is probably the best way to describe it.
We've all been there.
So taking a bit of a break. That's it, really. That's my big thing.
But it's quite a big thing.
Yeah, it is. It was a hard decision. Not one to take lightly, but I felt it was the best thing to do because, moving house and we've got apartment renovations and stuff, and my parents have hit that age where they need a bit of help with some stuff, and so there's some stuff going on there, and just a few bits and pieces that I'm kind of juggling outside of work as well. That's taken up quite a lot of time. So it was time to make a change.
I think it's worth saying, and this is not connected to anything you've said, but there's a lot of things going on in the industry right now, and people should know that there's no shame in being sacked. It's a reflection on the business, not on you.
I wasn't sacked.
No connection to what you were talking about.
No connection to me in private yet. No, nothing like that. Nothing like that. Like I said, that's why I'm calling it a sabbatical. So I just taking a bit of time off.
No, that's great, and it can be a really, really useful thing. I mean, I've burned out. I don't know if I burned out once or twice. I'm not sure if I actually recovered from the first one in time for the second one, or whether it's just one long one.
Just one rolling burnout.
Yeah,
one rolling fire.
I did. I went for this job in Norwich, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one where I had like 4 interviews for the job, because you could tell they weren't quite sure. So they could see I had the credentials, and I had the sort of brains to do it. But I think they were just basically yes. There was one where I got sacked because they thought I was going to beat them up. I just said when they told me that, I'm like, if I was going to beat you up, I'd have fucking done it by now. I mean, crap. You think I'm waiting until I've been here a year? Anyway, just for the record, I'm not a violent person at all. It was really difficult, and there was a new magazine launch while I was there, which was extraordinarily difficult, partly because of the way that other people worked. And I ended up doing most of the launch issue myself. I wrote over a third of it, and I laid out about half of it, and I did all the picture editing and got the second edition while I was doing that, plus did my job on the other magazine. And yeah, it was a lot. And it affected my health quite badly. And then when they fired me, I basically had gardening leave for a month. So spent that month drunk. And then I had to look around and get a job. And I got a much, much more difficult, much more demanding job on a magazine with a 4 weekly cycle. And in every 4 weeks, we did 164 pages.
Wow.
Which is Well, you say that, right? You see like magazines like Empire and Total Film and those sort of,
Mm.
nice thick publications, and they have massive teams working on those. We had 6 people, and 2 of those were designers. So that's 4 editorial people putting out 164 pages and no freelance budget.
Wow.
And the company's recruitment was all done at the local job centre. So on top of that, there was also training people, which had never been done before.
So magazine companies are great at just like squeezing the lemon of like let's really just wring the costs out of this and maximize profits.
Oh, you should have seen where the offices were. What a fucking shithole. And here's a funny thing, right? So I worked there and I worked my butt off, and then I fully burned out. And I stuck all my shit in a backpack. Well, I sold everything else. Stuck 7 pairs of socks, 7 pairs of pants, a pair of jeans, some running stuff, and a couple of books in a backpack. I fucked off and sofa surfed for a couple of years. So technically homeless. But
Not
I
if
wasn't.
you call it sofa surfing.
Yeah, I wasn't actually on the streets. I wasn't on the streets, but I had my laptop with me. I was working freelance where I could find some work. And it was from there that I ended up getting the job on Casino International, because I completely ran out of everything at that point. I'm like, fuck, I better get a job now. And I applied for something else. And in that interview for the something else, they realized that I might be a good fit for Casino International. And when they phoned my references, I must have told you this already, but when they phoned my references, one of them gave me a glowing reference, and the other one said, basically said, yes, John worked here.
Oh, one of those.
Followed by, but off the record, and then proceeded to slag me off for 20 minutes.
Oh.
Now, fair enough. If you don't like me, you don't like me. But I had asked this guy if he would be a reference, and he said, yes, no problem. So he's deliberately gone to fuck with me there. And I'd applied for a job at Future Publishing at one point, and it was like a production editor job, and I could do that with my eyes closed. I have done that with my eyes closed. And when they interviewed me, they were so keen you wouldn't believe. And then 10 days later, they're like, would you mind coming in and just working on a trial? I'm like, yeah, actually, I would mind. Like, I'm not being precious about it, but are you fucking joking? I could understand that if I was out of university, but I'm not.
So it's this reference, and they're like,
well, looking back, yes, definitely.
gosh, you could have been Mr. What Hi-Fi.
Well, one of my references was one of the people that he wasn't one of the founders of Future, but he was one of the very first staff at Future, and he was the launch editor of some of their key titles. And so I knew that his word carried weight, but the other guy. But why would you do that? It takes so much more effort than just saying no. No, I won't be a reference. Okay.
You must have really pissed him off.
Well, as my deputy editor at the time said, I really feel for you, John. You have all of the responsibility and none of the power. And he was absolutely right. It was the best summary you could possibly have of that. But this is the guy. So there was a review of Pearl Harbor in this DVD magazine, right? And this guy, he read the staff review of Pearl Harbor, which was quite a good review. They were quite into it. God knows why. It was a dreadful film. And he added some of his own paragraphs to the review. And one of his paragraphs, and I might be forgetting some details here, but one of his paragraphs talked about how Pearl Harbor, the movie, had rewritten parts of the history of the attack. Specifically, the Doolittle raids. The Doolittle raids being the American retaliatory air attacks on Japan post-Pearl Harbor. And he claimed that was an invention by the movie makers. He didn't even bother to fucking look it up. The internet existed then, and he published it. And when he was challenged on it, I just saw him shrug and go, oh, well.
I'd say that the letters to the editor of Mailbag must have exploded over something like that.
Fucking hell. So it's kind of a badge of honor that he gave me a bad reference. It's one of those things where, the person that says, God, yeah, you're a fucking idiot. Look at how kind you are. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those kind of people. It's like, if that guy thinks I'm an asshole, I'm probably doing okay.
Yeah.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that attitude. And when I see him, I say, look, I was homeless at the time. By the way, have a big punch in the face. I'm not a violent person. But anyway, there you go. I think I got everywhere I was intending to go in that. I should have had a sabbatical, but I couldn't afford it. But I wasn't a chairman. I was just a lowly thing. Didn't even have a title. It's just a thing.
Blob that could type.
Oh, man, I was smoking. I was drinking. I was, you name it. Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
Talking of smoking and drinking, any New Year's resolutions?
That is a great question, Fintan. No. Well, yeah.
Go on. Off you go.
It's not really a resolution so much. I had this is actually really serious. I had an epiphany at Christmas, which is the time for epiphanies.
The baby Jesus.
Who is? I looked up one of my dating app profiles yesterday. I realized it said instead of one of them, what do you do for fun? And I'd written prayer camp. The baby Jesus is easily in my top 5 favorite babies. It's not any great surprise that I'm not getting a lot of dates. No, I had this epiphany.
But the ones you're getting are fucking crazy.
Yeah. They are. No, I'm just kidding. No, they are. I had this sort of minor epiphany, which was that I just haven't been getting out in the world, and Christmas Day I had a sensation that I don't think I've ever had before, and I sat and I reflected, and I was just thinking about shit, and I was thinking about why I might be feeling so down, and I realized I was feeling lonely.
Aww.
And I don't think I've ever felt lonely before. And I think part of that is because I've always had like alcohol to fill that gap or running to fill that gap. And I can't do either of those things anymore. I don't have my comfort blankets anymore. And realizing that, I moved to this small town in order to sort of lick my wounds and heal and mourn and all of those things. And just kind of get my shit back together. And I realized that I've kind of done that and I need to get out in the world again. And actually dating apps and shit like that, it's just another way to stop yourself from getting out in the world. It's keeping people at arm's length still. And that's not really me, and that's not how I work. So yeah, I kind of had an epiphany, and as a result of that, I was talking to Fern the other day, and we were planning 50-50 care of the kids. And as part of that, I'll have some weekends free in order to get a fucking life.
Nice.
How about you?
That's really nice. No, let's finish you first. I think that's really nice. And it's, I think particularly for blokes as well, it's quite easy to be isolated. I think it's just something that blokes do in general. And so putting effort into it is, and I think in fairness, I think you've got a wide network of friends, but how often do you see them and those kind of things?
Almost never.
Yeah, exactly. But it takes time and it takes effort, and there's planning involved, particularly as everyone's older now, right? It's not like, particularly the second your mates have kids and stuff like that, you can't just, hey, do you want to go do something? Because
let's take drugs.
There's parental logistics of, well, let's schedule that for 4 weeks time, and I'll get the afternoon off. So that's really good. For me, yeah, I did a lot of reading over Christmas.
Yeah. Anything good? Any recommendations?
I read a wonderful book.
Oh yeah.
Called The Illusions by this fabulous author called Liz Hyder. I don't know if you've heard of her.
The name does ring a bell.
So for our newer listeners, John bought me a book last summer,
Yeah, it was
July.
July.
July. It arrived in July, and I'd started to read it in July, and it was a lovely book. But I had a lot going on, and I couldn't sit and give the book the attention that it deserved, because it was. And I'm not just saying this; it's a wonderful story, and it's beautifully written. Like I've always had this notion back, like, oh, I'd love to write a book one day, and then I read this, and I'm like, Fintan, like, don't even bother. just buy this lady's books and just enjoy her writing, because it's going to be significantly better than anything you could churn out. So other books you read, you're like, oh, I could have done this, but this was just beautiful, beautiful storylines, the whole shebang. So one of my goals for this Christmas, so this, it was a running joke for a while, and then one of my goals for this Christmas, bit of time off, is I'm just going to sit and read. And I read a bunch of books, and one of them was I restarted the Illusions book. And it turns out about 60% of the way in, there's a character called Fintan Costello, who's the theatre manager or something, and he's got a couple of little bit lines kind of thing. So very much like supporting cast with a one line, an extra with a line. Probably the best way to describe it.
You still get to be a union member with your line.
Yeah. So I'll apply for that now. Get my royalties. So yeah, it was a lovely surprise. So thank you very much, John. And it was a Christmas. It was basically a Christmas gift to me. So
it wasn't meant to be a Christmas. It was meant to be a summer gift. Yeah, you say that about my mate Toby, who does exist. He was in one of the. Do you know the show Phoenix Nights?
No.
It's one of the things that made Peter Kay the household name that he is.
Oh, okay, yeah. No.
It's about a Bolton nightclub, I think, if I'm right, or Bolton entertainment venue. Well, Toby was in one of the episodes of that, and he still gets residuals from that. And he was in one episode as a student comedian or something. And that's he's over the years he's earned plenty of money off that. So I think, I can give you Liz's email address.
I've got her on Twitter. John said you're going to pay me.
John mentioned something about a verbal contract.
About royalties. or who knows my bank details? I'll take crypto.
Well, no, see, Liz was asking me about the podcast.
Yeah.
She's like, "What you been up to?" I think Liz's husband Rob is also very lovely, and I think they were visiting me here, and she's asking me about the podcast, and I mentioned co-host. Oh, who's that? And so a chap called Fintan. Fintan what? Fintan Costello. Oh, can I use that? Yeah. What for? Like, write it on toilet paper and wipe your ass. But she explained that she's always looking for names for characters, because it's actually, if you think about it, it's actually a really difficult thing to think of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you can totally use that, but if it's in the book and Fintan reads it, I'm totally going to claim the credit for that. Which I think you'll find is what's happened.
When I messaged you over Christmas, you took the full credit.
I totally did. Plus, I'm going to send Liz the link to this episode so that she can hear me bask in that credit.
Good. But she's I'm gonna go get her other books. So whatever else she's written, it was just beautiful storytelling. But then
the first one is stunning. Her first book, Bearmouth, is stunning.
Because I know a little bit about magic and stuff, like stage magic, and it's also like historically ridiculously accurate for that time.
Yeah, she does a lot of research.
It was really like there was no moment where you're like, that's wrong or that's misplaced.
If it was me, I'd just be making shit up left and right.
Oh, for sure. Like
I'd be like, well, yeah, but here we are. Yeah.
So it just beautiful writing, absolutely beautiful writing. It was really, really nice to read. So did a lot of reading over Christmas, and did a lot of running, which was nice, and ate a lot of food and a lot of family time. And for me, I think for this year, it's just about doing less. And I'm reading. It's kind of like, because I've got into this habit of, if I'm not kind of maximizing every hour in the day kind of thing, I'm clearly failing. So I've kind of, if we psychoanalyze it, I've kind of tied up my self-worth with how busy I am or how productive I feel.
Danger.
I might, like, for the listeners wouldn't have known, but like, I sent John quite a lot of WhatsApps last week about the podcast, that kind of stuff. Quite a lot.
He did, yeah. And emails.
And emails. And I just had a thought. Let's do this. So just trying to not fill the bit of empty time in my diary now with other stuff just for the sake of it, I think is my thing. I'm failing miserably, but that is my goal.
It's good to have a goal. Yeah. Speaking of good, ICE registration is well and truly wide open.
Yeah.
And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Can't wait. My flights are booked. My hotel's booked.
I haven't booked a fucking thing.
Couldn't live like that, John. Don't know how you do.
I don't know how I do it either. I'm probably going to regret it come ICE week, because I believe that people are booking appointments.
I'm basically fully booked now.
Well, that's your chairman skills. Will you still be fully booked when people hear this and know that you're on a sabbatical? Oh, fuck that guy. Yeah, I've got a slot free.
What's he done for me recently?
Yeah, exactly. What's your reach now, Fintan?
Where's that budget gone? Fuck you.
So, yeah, but I'm in the process of booking a few things. It's just talking to clients and finding out who wants what from me while we're there, kind of thing. While we're there, while I'm there. So there's a few bits and bobs going on with that, which is quite exciting. I believe I can talk about my new client very soon as well. We can talk
about our new sponsor maybe next week.
It's a good question.
I think so.
Well, we could talk about our existing sponsor right now, which is Clarion Gaming, who organised ICE, and for which we are eternally grateful.
Yep.
Last year in London. Fucking Hippodrome's going to be heaving, isn't it?
Very heaving. Very heaving.
Which is pretty exciting. I was talking to an industry friend who's... they were asking me where I stayed last year, and I was like, I stayed at Paddington, because with the Elizabeth line, it's like brilliant. And she's like, oh yeah, that sounds pretty good, because it was super cheap where I stayed. She said, oh, that sounds pretty good. But then she realised that most evenings post ICE, she's going to wind up in the Hippodrome, so she's going to spend extra on staying in that area because she's a woman travelling on her own in London at night, etc. And while London is, by most measures, a pretty safe city, it's never going to hurt to minimize risk. You've only got to be wrong once. So she's going to be staying in central London, that's pretty exciting.
Very nice.
I might just utilize my sofa surfing abilities and see how far I get with that. But I think there's potential there. Basically, if you've got a booth at ICE and you find me on it one of the mornings, I have done that. I've napped at a couple of expos before. I remember I went to the Macau gaming show, which was a truly horrible experience. This was one of the first couple of years they ran it, and I think it was Novomatic booth, and they had fucking vibrating lazy boys. I said it might not. I mean, it wouldn't have been Novomatic's own booth. I think it was whoever was their distributor at the time. It might not even have been them. It might have been somebody else entirely's booth. It's very hazy memory. And I just remember sitting in this thing, and I just fell asleep straight away. I mean, I was. Trips to Asia kills me.
I fell asleep at we'd done a night out. I was doing a panel in the morning, and been out the night before with one of the other panelists, who was a little bit nervous about being on the panel, and so we'd agreed to meet for breakfast the next day. And I've got a phobia for being late for breakfast. Or not late for breakfast, late for meetings. I hate being late for meetings. So I'm dreadful to travel with and stuff because I want to.
Truly, we are yin and yang.
Yeah. And so I drag myself out of bed and get down to the breakfast thing. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to, like, even the thought of food is just too much. And I send him a message like, I'm here waiting for you, order a coffee. And somehow I managed to fall asleep. I just put my head on the table and just fall asleep at the table. And it's this very fancy kind of dining area thing. And basically, after about 2.5 hours, the waiter wakes me up because they've like finished breakfast service. I've got this perfect kind of dent on my forehead from the table. Get a coffee to go, and then head up, find him. He's just stepped out of bed, out of the shower. I'm like, where were you? He said we were going to have breakfast. Like, that just wasn't going to happen, Fintan. And then the two of us walk on stage and we do our thing.
And you crushed it, no doubt.
Crushed it. I had a nap. It was great.
My other one was at an event in the Philippines that had a lunch break, and everybody broke for lunch. And I'm like, I could go get a bite to eat, but actually I'm just going to enjoy the quiet for a minute. And I sat down, and when I woke up, everybody was back from lunch. And were all around me.
Hand down your trousers. Totally chill.
Pretty much. It was definitely somebody else's hand. No, it was, that was a bit freaky. It was like, like when I fainted and like I had that weird experience.
Had one of your turns.
Fuck off. I had that really weird experience of coming to while in mid-sentence. And that was a really, I can't even begin to describe how dislocated that made me feel. But yeah, waking up with somebody else's hand in my pants in an Asian gaming event. But just waking up and everything was completely different around me. I'm like, well, something's changed here. Oh yeah, there's 200 people around me. Fuck. But anyway, I don't recommend sleeping at expos. And let's face it, ice is going to be banging. Nobody's going to be sleeping there.
You sleep when you get home. That's what you do. Push through.
Yeah. Or in the words of John Bon Jovi, you sleep in your hotel room. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. You're not a Bon Jovi fan, are you, Fintan?
It's a bit before my time, mate.
Twat. Anyway, so this episode, we bring to you the delights of Lorand Minyo, founder and chairman of the Neveli Foundation, former CEO of Soft Genius and COO of Square Ventures. And Lorand is just beginning a very interesting journey, which he tells us all about. So that's what we're here for. So
yeah, nice and inspiring for the start of the year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to raise everybody up on our wings, like a giant wingy phoenix thing that's cheering everybody right up. When the weather's shit. Except the weather's not shit everywhere, is it? In the southern hemisphere, it's summer now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is. It is.
But it's not summer in Wales. Yeah, in fact, if you were here and looking out the window now, you would think that you'd gone completely colorblind because I swear even the grass looks grey today. It's not a good look. But anyway, Lorand Minyo and the Neveli Foundation and his journey to giving back. Enjoy the episode.
New Year, same us.
Yeah, New Year, same old shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trim this part. This is going to be the start of our first podcast episode for 2024. Welcome back to the Gambling Files. I hope everybody listening had a wonderful Christmas and New Year break. If you celebrated Christmas, if you're listening in Russia, happy Boxing Day, I suppose. I don't know. We are joined by our first guest of 2024. A man with a fabulous beard and a fine head of hair, so almost wish we were recording video, but we're not. I'm certainly the least hirsute person in this conversation. Fintan and I are joined by Lorand Minyo, founder and chairman of the Neveli Foundation, former CEO of SoftGenius and former COO of Square Ventures. Lorand, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hi guys, thank you for having me.
So listen, right. So I was trawling through LinkedIn the one day, just looking for porn links and stuff, and I came across a post of yours, so to speak, and it was about your exit from your title. So I mean, those are like Fintan will back me up here because Fintan is a former chairman. For CEO and COO, those are big. These are top dog titles here. So you were doing two jobs: CEO of SoftGenius, COO of Square Ventures, and you. Did you was it bad? Did you resign because you were angry,
No,
or
no,
no
no.
hate
It was
there?
it was time. It was time.
Oh, they'd had
It was
enough.
no. Actually, it's been 3 years since we've been working together. Hence my very elegant post and the story of me meeting the founder years and years back. It was time for me to start giving back. So as you know, the iGaming industry isn't very well known as a charitable type of industry, as doing a lot of good in the world. Um, and I felt I should, because I've been working in tech for the better part of the last 23 years. And I've always grinded, I always grinded. And for the past couple of years, I always wanted to do something in order to give back. And it was time. I felt it was time. I've set up a very good team, amazing people, and I've prepared my exit for months and months. And it was an elegant exit. And as you said, it was a big job, but I left behind very capable people, which are going to take care of Subgenius and Square.
Okay. You felt it was time to start giving back, and I mean it's a big phrase.
I hope I'll live up to it.
Well, yeah, me too. Now you've said it out loud. But what form is that taking? I mean, I mentioned that you are founder and chairman of the Neveli Foundation. Neveli is Neveli Foundation. Anybody wanted to look it up? What is that? Where did the idea come from?
Back in 2015, I had a healthcare startup that was called Neveli. For anyone asking, Neveli stands for Never Ending Life. Basically, we were taking all the information from Apple Watches, glucometers, weight trackers, all kinds of devices, and we were pulling all this information into a single platform and creating a health score. And based on your template for your age, your gender, and for activity level, we would give you a score and we would nudge you towards a better score by giving you automated and manual advice. So this never took off because it was a little bit early for what we were doing, but the idea remained of having a digital healthcare startup that would help people live better lives, more active lives, becoming better at whatever they do in their daily lives. And right about maybe a year before we shelved the startup, we had the idea of starting a foundation that would allow those that cannot afford to pay for healthcare services, mainly our digital platform, to have some sort of grants and help them become healthier by not paying anything. And that idea grew a little bit over time, but obviously, then COVID happened. People were no longer getting out, so it was pretty hard to do any decent and social activity. We all had our daily jobs, so we just left it. But the idea was always there in the back of our minds, and once we started realizing that we could do much more on a much grander scale, then we started focusing our energy on the foundation. And it's been 4 months, and we are already working with some pretty big names, Fortune 500 companies that want to join our mission. Now, how does that work? Foundation doesn't mean nonprofit, right? So a lot of people think that having a foundation means you're not doing profit. Well, in order to do good, you need money. That's a given.
Sure.
And in order to make money, you have two ways of going about it. You either ask for it or beg for it, which sometimes works, or you actually make the money. So we have three separate tracks in the foundation. We have the philanthropy track, where we actually fund initiatives of other associations or our own programs. We have the advisory services track, where our specialists go into companies, like I told, Fortune 500s, and help them with various problems on a very high level. And we help them make money, but the condition is a part of that money goes into the foundation's philanthropy track. And we have the VC track, where the companies that we work with have the opportunity to do impact investing through our VC. So we manage this fund. It's a closed fund, so if we are not working on advisory services with you, we will not take external money. And we help them invest in companies that do have a net positive impact. So we're talking about healthcare, obviously, education. We're talking about sustainable agriculture. We're talking about climate tech, and mostly companies that have a positive impact on society. That's our goal. And obviously, we do fundraising, but we're not focusing on fundraising for the foundation. We mostly want to make the money ourselves so we can give back to the foundation. And that's the
Wow.
gist of it.
So, okay, let's kind of work through that list then. So, if we start with the consulting side of things, like what kind of consulting are you guys doing?
Mostly we do digitalization and digital transformation. We do business development. So we work with some very smart people that have worked in large companies. And we do work in pure sales. We work in enterprise sales. So the people that have donated their time and are members of the foundation are very good at what they do. So by donating their time to the foundation, the companies that want to join our mission will benefit from these advisory services. They pay a fee for this.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the success fees that we will take, because we do take a percentage of the profits that we make. A percentage of that goes back into the foundation.
Understood. So on one side, you've got people who are donating their time,
Yeah.
that are then being kind of contracted out by
Yes.
the foundation to clients.
Yes.
Fees come in, people get paid. Percentages success fee then goes into the
Yes.
into the charitable fund, which then
Yes.
gets good use for the good
So
work.
basically, everybody makes money out of it.
Got it. And it's helping the overall foundation as well. Okay.
Yeah.
And then on the VC side of things, so explain what a closed fund is, and like how does the VC get its money, and then what is it investing in, and how does that work?
So we have our own truffle dogs that seek out the startups that are ripe for investment in the space.
Both me and John immediately thought you had actual truffle dogs, and we were about to get very excited.
100%. I was like, "Fuck, I'm in."
I have
I
a
love
friend
truffles.
that have I have a friend that has a pair of them, and he
Really?
goes truffle hunting.
Because apparently the
Yeah.
dogs are better to train than the pigs, because stopping the pigs eating the truffles is a big issue.
Yeah, it's
where
much
the
harder.
dogs can be
No
trained.
discipline. Yeah. Hence
can
the
relate.
truffle dogs.
It's my truffle dog fact. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, we seek out these startups that are ripe for investment in the industries that we're most interested in.
Which industries?
And so these are healthcare, agriculture,
Yeah. Understood. So it's the
climate,
it's the positive
renewables. Yeah,
Okay.
positive impact. So we strive to do only positive impact. At times, I'm almost certain that it will happen to invest in very sexy companies that don't have a net positive impact on society, but they can make money, hence getting back into the foundation. Like, I don't know, iGaming companies, hint, hint. And we allow our clients to invest in this fund. So hence the closed fund. We want to work with people that we know and that we can help make more money. We don't want to go to them and say, we're raising 50 million euros, and these are the conditions, these are your fees, these are our commissions, and we'll just give you updates twice a year. No. We want to know why they want to invest in it, and if they believe in the mission of the company they are investing in.
Yeah.
So if we would have been on the other side of the startup side, we would have called it smart money. We want smart money, right? Everybody says that. We want people.
I don't know. There's a time and a place for dumb money as well, but we don't get into that.
Oh yeah, obviously.
I certainly don't discriminate.
More often than not, there's time for dumb money. But then again, that means you're throwing money at the problem and you're not solving it. So
I never throw money or catch it.
and that's worse. That's far worse.
I'm cursed. Oh,
Uh-huh.
You should try catching more money.
Okay, so you guys go out, look for positive impact type stuff.
Yeah.
Are we talking like angel investing? Is it growth capital? Is it like where's your kind of sweet spot?
Not seed. So let's say we're pre-VC. So if you want to raise big and you go to Sequoia, for example, that's not our level. We're a little bit below that, right? Let's call it private VC, right?
Okay.
Or pool of angels or angel network, a little bit above the angel network, a little below the big VC. That's where we wanna invest. So tickets probably below 2.5-3 million euros, somewhere along those lines.
Got it. And like, how many companies have you guys invested in, or like, what's the portfolio looking
We
like right now?
haven't. We haven't. We're in the process of setting
Okay.
up. We're 3 months old.
Oh,
We're
okay.
3
Apologies.
we're
Yeah,
3 months
I
old.
asked
So
I asked Lorand on here, Fintan, because it was exciting and new.
Got
Not
it.
because they were old and tired.
we are not. I mean, we are old, but not tired.
I hear you.
All of us have worked in pretty nice companies so far. We've achieved a lot. Fortunately, we no longer have to prove anything to anyone except ourselves. We want to have a legacy. We actually need to have a legacy. And we believe this is our legacy, doing good by doing what we are good at. And we're pretty good at doing money and at making money, so let's try and put it to good use.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions. What would be like? What would be an ideal kind of? Okay, right. So the foundation makes money in order to use that money for good in the world. What
Yeah.
would be the kind of thing where you would want to use it for good in the world? What kind of project would you be looking for to do good with?
For example, our first project that we want to develop is AI for children, teaching children 10 and below how to deal with AI. This is one of the things that has been grossly overlooked. Everybody is talking about artificial intelligence replacing people, jobs, wherever. Nobody talks about the impact that it has already on children that interact with AI, or the limitations that AI has in interacting with children. Now, let's consider the fact that the workforce in 5 years from now, it will look completely different from what it is now. Pretty much everything that can be automated will be automated. Um,
I
children,
thought you made it look different because everybody will be 5 years older and some of them will have beards.
good one. No, 10-year-old
True.
children will probably not have beards in 5 years.
Do you watch the
No,
darts, Lorand? Do you watch darts?
no.
A 16-year-old English kid got to the World Darts Final. 16 years old. Fucker's got a beard.
Looks 40, so he does.
It really does. So you say that, right? But I mean, there's kids out there with facial hair that's better than mine.
Yeah, so
Anyway, sorry.
basically, to take it a little bit more on the chill side, we believe in the fact that if you teach a man to fish, you're going to do much, much more good than to just give them a fish. One-offs are great and charity is great, but in our view, philanthropy is much more than that. Helping communities do better in terms of agriculture, in terms of fighting the impacts of climate change, is much more important than to just throwing money at a current problem that they have, which of course works one off, but long term it doesn't. Every company out there that does some sort of CSR or charity throws money at a problem. They do social media posts and milk that for months, and then they just leave. 1-2 years down the line, no follow-up. For most of them, no follow-up. And basically it ends up just being a marketing trick, or not trick, marketing gimmick, and ticking a box. We as a company did CSR, or we did charity, and that's it. We don't want to do that. I see the value in doing one-offs, but I much more believe in teaching a man to fish. Like, for example, recently we came back from Cuba and Panama, and we've seen a lot of things that can be improved. Obviously, you cannot just barge in and help people. You need to work with NGOs, with local NGOs. You need to work with the government. You need to work with the church in some cases. So it's a long time effort that we need to do. And in order to do that, you need to be able to invest long term.
Where are you from?
Romania. Cluj, which is arguably the Eastern Europe's Silicon Valley. 20% of the people here work in tech. Another 8% people work indirectly in support of them. Probably the entire economy is supported by technology and development companies.
They have a reasonably successful football team also.
Yes. One successful, one not.
Often the way.
Yeah, but at least we have two, so...
Yeah, it's true. Very, very true. So, thing is, that teach a man to fish thing, I mean, maybe some of our American listeners could write in and let us know. Does Lorand sound like some damn commie? The
We
teach a
used to
man...
be communists 34 years ago, so...
Yeah, I mean,
Might be it.
if I told my kids now what your country was like under Nicolae Ceausescu, they would not believe me, and I know they wouldn't believe me because
But they
now.
should go to Cuba, and
But
they
now
will
it
see
seems unreal.
exactly. And they will see exactly how Romania was 34 years ago, 40 years ago. Go to Cuba, except for the fact that they have mobile phones and internet, it's exactly the same. Rations, nothing to buy. We had our first flight canceled, so we had to leave much earlier, so we didn't pack a lot of things. And we said, well, we're going to buy something when we arrive. Nothing.
Oh.
Nothing. There is literally nothing you can buy there.
Was it? This is a bit of a jump here. Was it? I might be remembering this wrong, but I don't think I am. Was it not the Romanian economy that about 25 years ago was taken down by pyramid schemes?
Yes.
Because that's
also
another
participated?
crazy Romania
Yes.
story.
It was a giant pyramid scheme in Romania. It was a Ponzi scheme. So for the American listeners, they should be quite familiar with it. The economy wasn't exactly taken down per se, but the entire country participated in this pyramid scheme. The entire country. I also participated. My parents participated. Basically, what happened is that you would get, if I'm not mistaken, 8x or 9x your money within 6 weeks. Then it used to be a month. And by the time a lot of people invested, they just pushed the date like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and then it stopped. So what we managed to buy, I believe, and I'm talking about profit, right? We bought a TV. We bought my first computer, and we bought a car chassis. We couldn't afford a full car. We bought a car chassis, and we moved all the pieces from the old car on the new chassis. So, and we had a brand new car.
Genius.
Yeah, that's how it worked. But we know people that bought 3, 4, 5 apartments out of this pyramid scheme.
Wow.
Yeah, it was mayhem. The entire country participated. The guys running the scheme, So it was here in Cluj. They started here in Cluj. They had a warehouse full of money. So if you've seen any of the drug-related movies, it was like that. Like narcotraficantes
Just pallets of
having,
cash.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
getting them in, taking them out. And strangely, the government supported this and allowed this to happen.
I wonder how that
Eh,
could happen.
Yeah.
Fucking
S- A,
people.
a- a
Everything's
few
fine until
ba-
people get involved.
Yeah, and a few banks appeared by the time that the scheme was over. So, yeah, we know a couple of banks. I think one of them still in existence that was built on this pyramid scheme.
Wow.
Yeah, they were dragged to court for, I don't know, 10, 15 years. They
And
won, of course.
the government didn't just step in and say, right, everyone gets their money back, and we just pretend it never
No,
happened.
no, because there was no more money left. They just took out the money. Back then, I think it was mostly converted in Deutsche Marks and taken out.
So it's all sat in Switzerland somewhere and just tough shit.
Maybe, probably.
Yeah.
We don't officially know.
But it is a crazy, crazy story, and it is one of those stories where, like, you know, I remember Fern. Somebody was asking Fern to get involved in some basically pyramid scheme shit, and she said, "Have a look at this, see what you think." And I had a look at it, and I'm like, "Fuck off." And she went, "Yeah, that's what I thought." And I said, and I told her the story of the Romanian economy, and she's like, "No." I'm like, "Totally, straight up, it happened. Nobody believes that story." Anyway,
Yeah, but
sorry.
it also has had a very, very interesting side effect. Now our bullshit meters are extremely well calibrated.
That's a fantastic positive, but what a way to learn.
Yeah.
Generational trauma.
Oh, yeah.
Well, fuck, yeah.
Multi-generational trauma. Multi-generational.
You made a really interesting point. Just sorry to switch back from the Ponzi scheme stuff. You made a really interesting point about teaching kids AI
Yeah.
or getting kids used to. So I watched my son over the Christmas holidays, and he wanted to make a Discord bot for
Okay.
his little Mario Kart team that he plays on. And he went and found a bot, loaded the code into ChatGPT, and then told ChatGPT what he wanted, and did kind of 3 or 4 iterations of that to get it working. And so in the space of an hour, with he's got a little bit of Python skills, he had a fully working Discord bot, and his team are using it to help them pick their next race and keep track of scores and all this kind of stuff. And I was just blown away, because I remember having to go buy like a massive book for like £100, and if there's a typo in the book, you're fucked, and you know you're gonna have to figure that out yourself. And it was just the way that's changed, and how he was just completely fearless about it, and just, well, this is how you code. You just have ChatGPT do all the hard work, and you do a bit of tweaking or whatever. And so I'm completely bought into this concept of getting kids, because it's such a great accelerant for any kid that's curious.
And it sets a new benchmark for how we navigate and interact with technology.
Yes.
This is something that our generation was never taught in school. Never.
No.
We were just maybe if you were in STEM, then you would know about these things. But most people will just find out about technology and computers by going, for example, in Romania, these it were the internet cafes. Nobody had internet at home. Everybody was going to an internet cafe, paid maybe the equivalent of £1 per hour, and they would discover technology and the internet. And that's what we did. But children nowadays, put them in front of a computer that they can interact with in a natural language, and this will set the benchmark for their expectations going down the line, and this is how they will interact with it as adults. And it's very, very important how we deal with it now. So we would both protect them, but also show them the amazingness that this new technology can bring into their lives.
What areas, where do you think they need to be protected?
They need to be protected first and foremost against the biases that were built into AI.
Good point.
So
Okay.
we all know that most, if not all, AIs are biased because of the biased data they have been trained on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is being perpetuated in the most used one, even in ChatGPT. So even if you have guardrails set up, if you prompt it correctly, it will go off the hook. It will become racist. It will become not natives. It will basically mimic the data it was trained on, and this is bad for the upcoming generation. And the thing is that right now everybody blames everybody else. So developers are blaming the data scientists. The data scientists are blaming the data collectors. The data collectors are blaming the data. So nobody takes responsibility for what data is being used to train AIs. And I've did a ethics of AI course a couple of maybe a year back, and I was baffled to learn how little has been done to remove this bias. Basically, nothing is being done, and if this bias remains, our children will interact with this biased data, and we don't want that.
It's a really good. So I think that it's a really good point. Because if you think of, say, how HR are using AI tools now for screening CVs,
Yeah,
just at a very, very, and it's pretty much standard now across the board. But I heard a really good point by somebody that said one of the reasons it's not being tackled, and it probably won't be tackled, is that the people coding it have never been victims or biased against. So, like, white guys in Silicon Valley have never experienced
privilege
or
and
racism
stuff.
or being excluded from things, or they've been to Stanford or Harvard, whatever it is, and they've had a very different life, and they don't believe.
And this creates another opportunity for the foundation to introduce underrepresented people into AI development.
Yeah.
This is something that we've been thinking about for a while. It's a very, very big topic to tackle.
Yeah.
And you cannot do it without first solving the underlying issues, which are access to technology, access to continuous power, access to a good school in your neighborhood, and things like that. And in order to tackle that, you need to work with communities, with local governments. So it's a big, big topic to tackle. We want to go into that, but I think it's too early to do that. But we are very open to working with governments and local communities to implement this.
Got it. So if we can, so obviously there's a lot of ambition across the board, and there's quite a big remit for the foundation.
Yeah.
In terms of 2024, so we're at the beginning of 2024. In terms of this year, what is it that you guys want to achieve?
We want to make money. We want to have a strong financial foundation on which we can build upon.
Okay.
That's our only goal. Start our first program, which is AI for Children, which is going to be our own program. Try to make as much money as possible from the advisory services and kickstart the VC fund. We already have, as I told you earlier, we have some truffle dogs that are very good at sniffing out good startups in various locations. Obviously, we want to have a global impact, but we're going to start locally. We know the Eastern European ecosystem very, very well. We're very familiar with the UK ecosystem. Many of us have worked for years and years in the city. We are quite familiar with the US startup scene as well. But what we would like mostly is to try and invest in companies from up and coming areas of the world, because they would know better what problems they have in their regions.
Sure.
And they would probably have a much more ingenious way of solving those problems locally. And we want to be able to fund those genius ideas.
Makes perfect. Rather than the white savior coming into, hey, we've got the solution, we're going to roll it out in your country.
We don't want to do that. As I told you, teach a man to fish.
Yeah.
We don't want to be the poster children of being the saviors of Honduras or Panama or stuff like that. No, we want to come in. We want to teach people how to properly do some of the things and let them do their work, because they know better. They always know better.
Absolutely. What about
they
vegans?
Just need some help. Well,
it's a valid question.
Nobody's perfect.
No, but you teach them to fish. What are they supposed to do? Just keep them as pets? Come on.
Good one, man.
It's a valid thought process.
So if you
teach a man to plow.
Teach a man to plow.
That's good. I like that. Yeah.
If you had a request for the audience, for the listeners, what would it be?
Yeah, bring it.
Consider spreading the message. Be evangelists. Try and do good. This is something that I would like to pass on. Be better. Do better. Don't take bullshit. Be the best version of yourself that you can be. Don't consider money to be the goal. Think of money as being the tool to get things done. Try and give back, because everything is going to be well in the end. If it's not well, it's not the end. Try and be happy at the end.
Are you familiar with the movie Brassed Off, Fintan?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've watched it. It's the Northern brass band thing, and they're
It's it has a very young Ewan McGregor in it,
who actually plays the trombone in real life, right? Isn't that
maybe that was where he started?
Yeah, I'm sure he was a trombone player or something in high school.
You can call it a tromboner.
Movie.
But it had and it has the late great Pete Postlethwaite in it as well. Do you remember the Chumbawamba song "Tub Thumping"?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's a sample from Brassed Off at the start of the song, and it's Pete Postlethwaite saying, "I thought music mattered. Does it bollocks? Not like people matter." And it's true. Because fundamentally, I do believe, and I'm going to sound like a hippie and possibly a communist, so I want to apologize in advance to our American listeners. The only thing that truly matters, probably two things that truly matter in the world, are time and love. not necessarily in that order. And you say, but what about, but actually most things come back to those two things. And as the late great Bill Hicks said, we make our choices through love or fear. Those are our starting points when we make choices generally. You choose fear, you put a bigger lock on your door, you buy another gun. You choose love, everything changes. And
That's beautiful.
It's extremely simplistic, but it is also my starting point. And I think, it's so easy to get bogged down in the day-to-day and so easy to get fucking dragged down by it, frankly, and, meeting the bills and all of that stuff, that we can forget just what a huge impact even the smallest things can have on the world around us. I hope your foundation does fantastically well, mostly in the helping people out thing rather than in the, making money thing. But I recognize that the two are connected.
Yeah, we're not just dreamers. We do realize that we need to do some of the things that we might not be proud all of the time in order to fulfill the mission of the foundation. I mean, come on, let's be serious. Nobody ever made anything, never achieved anything great by being completely 100% honest and fair. Nobody in history. Now we could argue about this for probably another half an hour.
Behind every great fortune is a crime, I believe is the saying.
Yes. Yes. We don't want great fortunes. We just want enough so we can do good. Have an palpable, achievable impact.
Sustainable impact.
Yeah, that's the buzzword. Yeah,
no. I mean, sustainable, as in if the foundation is making money, then it can continue to do good. If it can sustain itself, it can continue to do
some iGaming companies actually that are eager to give back, because they had many years in which they never did anything. And as you both know, iGaming companies are really good at making a lot of money. But most of them make money for the sake of making money, which I believe is wrong. You need to have some sort of goal, or you need to have some sort of North Star of why you do this. And many don't. And that's sad, because at the end, you will probably not regret not making another 10 million, but you will probably regret not spending time with your family. You will probably regret not giving to that hospital that was knocking on your door for the past 5 years and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I'm not arguing.
Makes perfect sense.
So, where can people find the Neveli Foundation?
It's neveli.org.
neveli.org.
Yeah. And they can reach out to me on LinkedIn.
That's Lorand Minyo, Minyo.
I'm going to be a little bit more active. I used to be, but I was taking a break for the past few weeks. I'm probably going to take an extra break for another couple of months while we are working in silence on the foundation, because we're talking with a few people that we want to bring on board as advisors and members of the board of the foundation. But once we do that, we will be very public. I guarantee you that.
Okay, well, keep us posted. We're always listening.
Absolutely.
Of course.
Sweet. Lorand, thank you for joining us today.
Lovely to meet you.
Thank you, guys. It was a real honor.
If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn. Give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @GamblingFiles. You can connect to myself, John Bruford, or Fintan Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.